Welcome back to the channel. I'm not in the hills this week, I'm stuck at home and the weather's surprisingly good. It's chilly, but at least the sun's shining and it is for now. And last weekend we saw the first of the snow, and if I'm honest, I had a serious case of FOMO. I desperately wanted to be out. If you watched my last video when I was in the North York Moors, you'll have seen me whinging and belly aching about the weight of the pack on my back. I weighed it before I left the house and it came in at just over 14 kilograms. That's before I added at least 2 litres of water. I've got a reasonable level of fitness, but if I'm honest, it was giving me a hard time. And I decided to make a video about the kit that I was carrying this winter. You can see for yourselves, and if you've got any other tips or suggestions about how I can shave a few grams off to make my load a little bit lighter and my trips a little bit more pleasant, then please leave a comment below. So I'll start with the backpack that I'm using. This is the Osprey Kestrel 68 litre rucksack. I've had this around about 6 or 7 months. I got it for multi-day trips, although I haven't done many multi-day hikes this year. I've had Osprey backpacks before. I really rate them and I really trust them. They're very robust, although they are not the lightest backpacks out there. This one weighs in at around about 2.2 kilos. It hasn't got any spectacular features, it's just very, very functional. One thing I have found with Osprey backpacks in the past, that they do sometimes come with a squeak. This one doesn't squeak at all. I don't know why that is. My 48 litre rucksack squeaks as I move along, but this one is pretty silent, but I do like them. If I wanted to replace this would probably cost me anywhere between 160 to 200 pounds, if not a little bit more. I found this one on Facebook for about 120, so I got myself a little bit of a bargain, but I do like that. So moving on to my shelter, I'm using the Terra Nova Southern Cross 2. This is the stuff sack that it comes in, although I don't keep it in that. I prefer to keep it in a large dry bag for storage. I have been using the MSR Hubba Hubba NX as my 3-season tent. And I moved to the 4-season tent to give me a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more security in inclement weather. So far this winter, I probably would have got away with the MSR Hubba Hubba. It has been quite mild. The issues start to come when you pitch the inner first and then the outer. If it starts to rain, stuff inside tends to get a little bit wet before you can get the outer on. You don't have that problem with the Southern Cross 2. Pitches all as a 1. In terms of weight, the Hubba Hubba came in at 1.7 kilos, where the Southern Cross 2 weighs in at 2.3 kilos. Now, I don't personally think that's too much for a 4-season tent. It has handled a fair bit of wind whilst I've been out, but no really gnarly winter conditions. I find the Southern Cross 2 vents particularly well. I haven't had an issue with condensation, and so far so good. Hopefully I'll get another camp out before the end of the year and put it through a proper test, but we'll just have to wait and see. Previously done a first look at the tent on the channel, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. So next up, let's discuss my sleep system. I'll start with the pad. It's the Thermarest Neo Air X-Lite. I really like the pad. It's very, very comfortable. Unfortunately, as I've said before, I did go for the regular fit, where I think I would have benefited from a wider mat. I am a side sleeper. I tend to toss and turn, although that is pretty comfortable. I have had an issue with the baffles. It tended to split and inflate at one end. You've probably seen that on my lightweight walk video. Made for a rather comfortable night in the bivvy. However, credit to Thermarest, they did replace it without any quibbles with a brand new Thermarest as well. So I was really impressed with that. That has an R rating of around about 5, so it's fairly well insulated and it's been great so far. What I like to do to protect that, I've got a blue roll mat that I picked up from Mountain Warehouse for a couple of quid for one of the kids' outward bounds courses. I like to put that now underneath the Thermarest to give it a little bit of protection and insulation from anything that might be poking up underneath. On top of that, I've got a cheap sleeping bag liner that I like to put over the Thermarest as well, just to add a little bit more protection from me rolling around on top. And then my sleeping bag of choice for this winter is the OEX Leviathan 900. This was on offer about £130. I believe you might be able to get it a little bit cheaper. It's a down sleeping bag. It weighs in at about 1.37 kilos. It's certainly not the lightest and it's probably not the warmest, although it has done a great job so far. It says its comfort limit is down to -9. I've been nowhere near reaching that when I've been out. Particular issues with it, it hasn't got a Pertex covering. So if you suffer with condensation in the tent, if the sleeping bag gets wet, it may not perform in the same way it would if it stayed dry. Also, it has lost a few feathers in the tent. Now, it's not losing feathers in the same way as other people have found. I don't think it's actually that bad. The amount of time that I'll be using it, given the length of time I'm likely to be wild camping for, I think I'll probably get my money's worth out of that. One thing that I do like about the Leviathan, it does come with a stuff sack, which makes storing it away quite handy, but also it comes with its own storage sack. So when I store it up in the loft, all the down isn't compressed. I've also got a high Kenture pillow. This is just a cheapie off Amazon. I find that sleeping without a pillow was quite uncomfortable. What I'd previously done was stuff some down clothes or some extra clothes into a stuff sack and use that as a pillow. But if I'm honest, using that has made a difference to the quality of the sleep that I'm getting. Next, I'm going to move on to clothes. As well as the clothes that I'm wearing, and I always take a duvet jacket anyway because I like the added warmth that it brings. I like to take some thermal underwear as well. There's thermal pants and a thermal vest. I think as well, when you're spending a long time in the tent, sleep sometimes is a little bit hard to come by. I find having a nighttime routine, such as putting my night clothes on, brushing my teeth, having a hot milky drink before bed, just helps me get in the mood and drift off to sleep. So I will take extra spare clothing as well. Some things that I won't do without. I always take an extra pair of dry socks, and I also take some down boots as well. Again, these are just some cheap Nature Hike ones that I got from Amazon, but they do the job just as well as anything else. And the problem is if I get cold feet, I am not going to sleep at all, so I won't take a chance with that. And if I'm up and about and moving around, I've also got some Nature Hike down pants as well. Again, these weren't much more than sort of 20 quid, and they've really proved their worth when I've been on cold camps. It almost goes without saying that I take hat and gloves whenever I go walking. It doesn't really matter what the weather is, but during colder weather, I always take spare pairs. So I've always got some extra pairs of gloves, some liner gloves. These are fleecy ones. I take a snood as well. This is some sort of buff that I've got with a fleece collar. Sometimes when you're sitting up in the tent, your neck area is a little bit exposed around there. This can be great for just covering that bare skin and pulling up around your face on a night as well when you're in your sleeping bag. So I won't be without those. So waterproof clothing is a must at this time of year. If I know it's going to rain or it's likely to be misty and damp, I'll take some waterproof trousers. These are some Berghaus ones that I've had a while. I really like those because they've got a zip fastening on the side and also some press studs as well. They're easy to get in and off because of the zip fastening. They also had a little bit of extra protection and a little bit of warmth on your legs, particularly cold days. The waterproof jacket that I'm using at the moment is a Rab Downpour Plus jacket. That's been superb so far. I say it's been quite a mild winter, and on occasion I've just been able to use that coupled with a base layer as well when I'm walking. Don't want to overheat, don't want to get too hot, end up sweating. As soon as you slow down and stop, sweat starts to cool, so do you. So for my cooking setup, during the summer I've been using an Alkit Brewer alcohol burning stove. I really like those, but I also really like the efficiency of gas during winter. So I've reverted back to my MSR Pocket Rocket. This version of the Pocket Rocket I've had over 20 years. It's never let me down. It's been absolutely superb, and I really like that. Boil time is pretty quick as well. So carry a gas canister for that, maybe even a spare if necessary. I've got a Torx Titanium 650ml mug. That's perfect for everything that I need whilst I'm out and about during winter. I also bring a spare collapsible Cedar Summit mug as well. Find that comes really handy. And if I do need it, I've got a windbreak as well, although I have to say that's probably a little bit of overkill for the stoves that I use, and I probably need to find something a little bit lighter and a little bit smaller. So for water, invariably, if there aren't going to be any decent water sources, I'll carry my water in, usually around about 2.5 litres of water. Probably lasts me about 24 hours. I do try and make sure that I'm hydrated before I go out, so I'm not necessarily desperate for drinking water. When there are water sources, this is the water filter that I'm currently using. This is the water to go. bottle. I do particularly like this one. I have had it some time. My mini Sawyer bag burst and I haven't been able to get a replacement, which is why I've gone back to using this, and to be honest, it works perfectly, so I've no complaints there. So moving on to electronics, this is the power bank that I'm using. It's got a solar panel on one side, although I've never particularly used it, nor have I had particular weather to use it in, but it will charge all my electronics, including my GoPro, my phone, my head torches, my Kindle, anything like that, over multiple times. The only problem is it is as big and weighs as heavy as a brick, but I wouldn't be without it. I am looking at getting a lighter charger for the new year, and I think that's going to be crucial as I go on longer breaks and longer trips outdoors. I also take with me 2 head torches. I've got my Black Diamond one there, and this is one that was given to me by Sunblesser that I've been testing out, and to be honest, this performs just as well as the Black Diamond. Doesn't necessarily have a long battery life, but it does produce very, very similar light. One little luxury item that I wouldn't be without is my Flextail pump. So I could use the bag that comes with a thermarest in order to inflate it, but I much prefer using that, and it just allows me to get on with other tasks, setting up in the tent while the pump does its job. And in this stuff sack, I just put all the leads and bits and pieces that I need to take to make sure I'm able to charge all my kit. However, every gram does add up, and as I mentioned, I do film on my GoPro. I bring a couple of batteries with me. I find I go through around about 3 batteries in about 24 hours anyway, so those do need charging if I'm out for a little bit longer. Luxury items, I don't take that much if I'm honest, so it's difficult to know where I can save weight in relation to that. I've got a Kindle. I do like that. It's obviously a lot lighter than a book or a magazine. I can fit more stuff on, so if I'm out for a little while, I haven't really got an issue with spending time in the tent and finding things to do. The other luxury item that I sometimes take with me is my drone. It's a DJI Mini 3. I really enjoy using that. It gives some fantastic shots of the camp and the landscape. The drone itself weighs 249 grams. That way I don't need a pilot's license and I don't need to register it, but the control unit is slightly heavier than that, and I tend to find that I like to carry that in my chest pouch. It's not waterproof. One of the benefits of having a 68 litre sack is that where I would normally carry that on my chest, if the weather does become wet, I can always take that off and put it inside my pack and have the confidence that it's not going to crush any of the electronics within there. The other item that I won't be without is my mobile phone, for lots of reasons, not only just for communication, but you can download and watch programs on your phone these days. I do like to have map and compass as a backup, but certainly over the last 12 months, I've become a little bit lazy. I've got the OS Maps app on the phone. It gives me great coverage. I love to use it when I'm not on the hill. I love to plan my routes on it and have a look at other areas I'm not familiar with. I think that's brilliant. A couple of extra bits of electronics that I'm currently using. I've got a thermometer, weighs absolutely nothing. I've also picked up a wind meter. It's easy for me to say. I've also picked up a wind meter. I haven't actually had a chance to use that because since I've got it, when I've been out, there's been virtually very little wind anyway. Now, there are some items that I definitely won't compromise on and I definitely won't eliminate from my bag at all. And I'll go through those now. So first of all is a first aid kit. I've taken out the stuff that I wouldn't ordinarily use in there, and I've made sure I've got plenty of paracetamol, ibuprofen. I also pack Compeed for blisters and some blister cream as well. I don't want to end a hike because my feet aren't up to the job and they're covered in blisters, so I always make sure that I carry those and plenty of them. I do carry a multi-tool, although judging by the dust and the grime on it, that it very rarely gets used. I also carry some gaffer tape as well, just in case I need to make any repairs. I've got a thermarest puncture repair kit. Then the other items that I won't go without are all relating to personal hygiene. So I've got toothpaste and toothbrush. I've got a little roll-on deodorant. I take some baby wipes as well in case I can't get a wash. And then the really grim stuff is I always carry a trowel in case I need to go for anything bigger than a number 1. I need to bury it. And of course, I always take my toilet paper out with me regardless of where I am or what I'm doing. As I've said before, I'm not an expert on winter camping. It's something I've got into fairly recently, and I'm just expanding the kit that I've got and the knowledge and every time I go out, it's an opportunity to refine all that. So if you've got any suggestions or tips or kit you'd recommend in order to try and shave a few grams off and make my trips a little bit more pleasant, please let me know in the comments below. Hopefully I'll be out again before too long, certainly before the end of the year. Don't forget to like, leave a comment and subscribe if you've not done so already, and I'll see you in the next video.